My wife's best friend moved into our guest room temporarily. 6 months later, she's still there. When I complained, my wife said, "If you don't like it, leave." So I did. I left them both in the house I was about to sell. "Maybe you're the temporary one." Sarah's words hung in the air like poison gas, filling the living room of the house I'd bought with my inheritance, the house I'd owned for 4 years before I even met her, the house she was currently sitting in with her unemployed best friend who'd been temporarily staying in our guest room for 6 months. Rachel laughed from the couch, actually laughed, like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. My voice came out steadier than I felt. My hands were clenched into fists in my pockets. "It means," Sarah said, standing up and crossing her arms, "if you don't like the situation, you can leave. Rachel and I are perfectly fine without you." I looked at my wife of 3 years, the woman I'd married in a small ceremony in Napa Valley, the woman who'd cried when I'd carried her over the threshold of this house, the woman who was now telling me to get out in front of Rachel. Rachel, who'd shown up in January with 2 suitcases and red eyes, promising it would be just a few weeks while she got back on her feet after her boyfriend dumped her. That was 6 months ago. It was now June. Rachel had paid exactly $0 in rent, ate our food, my food technically, since I paid for groceries, used our Netflix account that I paid for, left dishes piled in the sink and wine bottles on the counter every single night, and every night she and Sarah would stay up late in the living room, laughing, whispering, going silent whenever I walked in, like I was the intruder, in my own goddamn house. "You're serious?" I asked Sarah. "Dead serious," she replied. Rachel was smirking now, full-on smirking, like she'd won something. "Okay," I said quietly, "I'll leave." I turned and walked down the hallway to our bedroom. My bedroom, the master bedroom in the 4-bedroom Craftsman I'd bought in 2019 for $487,000 cash from my grandfather's estate. The house Sarah thought was ours, the house that was actually only mine. I pulled my suitcase from the closet and started packing. Clothes, laptop, important documents, birth certificate, passport, the deed to the house that was in my name and my name alone, the deed Sarah had never bothered to look at, the deed that proved this beautiful house in Northeast Portland with the original hardwood floors and the renovated kitchen we'd spent $43,000 updating last year. This house belonged to exactly one person, me. Sarah didn't come to the bedroom, didn't ask me to stay, didn't apologize. From the living room, I heard Rachel say, "Good riddance. He was always so uptight about everything." Sarah laughed. My wife laughed. I zipped up my suitcase, took one last look at the bedroom I'd slept in for 7 years, and walked out the front door. Didn't look back, didn't say goodbye, just left. What Sarah didn't know, what she was about to find out, was that the beautiful 4-bedroom Craftsman she loved so much, the house she'd been treating like her personal kingdom for the past 6 months, the house she'd just told me to leave, it wasn't hers. It had never been hers, and I was about to take it away. 6 months earlier, Rachel had shown up on a Tuesday evening in January. It was raining, typical Portland winter, the kind of rain that soaks through everything and makes you question why anyone lives in the Pacific Northwest. Sarah answered the door, and there was Rachel, mascara running down her face, 2 rolling suitcases beside her, looking like a drowned cat. "He cheated on me," Rachel sobbed, "with his coworker. I caught them together. I can't go back to that apartment. Please, Sarah, please, can I stay here for a little while?" Sarah looked at me. I knew that look, the look that said, "We have to help her. She's my best friend. Don't be an asshole about this." "Of course," I said. "Stay as long as you need." I meant a week, maybe 2. Rachel moved into the guest room that night. The first week was fine. She stayed in her room mostly, cried, watched Netflix. Sarah brought her food and wine and they'd talk for hours. Best friend stuff. I got it. The second week was when the pattern started. Rachel would be up when I left for work at 7 a.m., sitting at the kitchen counter in her pajamas, drinking the coffee I'd made. "Morning," she'd say, barely looking up from her phone. I'd come home at 6 p.m. and she'd still be in pajamas, still on her phone, dishes in the sink, my dishes, since she'd used them for whatever she'd eaten that day. "Did you have a good day?" Sarah would ask when I walked in. "Yeah." "Did Rachel look for apartments today?" "She's still processing the breakup. Give her time." Week 3, Rachel started eating dinner with us every night, sitting in my spot at the table. I moved to a different chair, didn't say anything. Week 4, I noticed the wine bottles. 3, sometimes 4 empties in the recycling every week. "Is Rachel buying her own wine?" I asked Sarah one night. "Jesus, really? You're going to nickel and dime my best friend who's going through a crisis?" "I'm just asking. She's our guest. Don't be petty." I wasn't being petty. I was watching my grocery bill climb from $400 a month to $700, watching my electric bill go up because Rachel kept the guest room at 72 degrees and took 40-minute showers, watching my wife spend more time with Rachel than with me. Week 8, I tried to have a conversation. "Can we talk about a timeline?" I asked one evening after dinner. Rachel had gone to her room, or her room, as Sarah had started calling it. Sarah looked at me like I'd suggested drowning puppies. "She's my best friend. She needs us. She needs a job. And her own place. It's been 2 months. You're being selfish," Rachel called from the hallway. She'd been listening. "Sarah said you'd be like this," Rachel continued, walking into the kitchen. "Said you were always worried about money, always keeping score." I stared at my wife. "You talked about me behind my back? Don't be paranoid, Sarah said. We're just venting. Friends do that. About me? In my own house? Our house, Sarah corrected. But it wasn't our house. It was my house. And I was starting to realize I needed to remind her of that. The plan I checked into the Kimpton Hotel downtown. Paid for a week up front, $1,847, including tax. Expensive, but worth it for the clarity of mind, the space to think, the distance from Sarah and Rachel, and the toxic situation I'd been living in for 6 months. I called my real estate agent at 9:23 p.m. from the hotel room. Jennifer Lawson, 47 years old, 22 years in Portland real estate, the woman who'd helped me buy the house in the first place. David, is everything okay? I want to list the house as soon as possible. Silence on the line. You and Sarah just renovated the kitchen, the bathroom. Are you guys okay? We're getting divorced. I want the house sold before the paperwork is filed. Oh, David, I'm so sorry. Can you list it? Of course. I can have it ready by Monday. Professional photos, staging consultation, the works. The market is insane right now. You'll get over asking, guaranteed. Good. Do it. Next call. My lawyer, Thomas Chen, 53 years old. Family law specialist. 15 years practicing in Oregon. The attorney who'd handled the prenuptial agreement Sarah and I had signed before getting married. The prenup Sarah had insisted on, actually. She'd wanted to protect her student loan debt, $67,000 from grad school, from becoming marital property. I'd agreed. And my lawyer had added one critical clause. The house at 847 Maple Street, purchased by David Morrison prior to marriage, would remain separate property. Sarah had signed it without reading it carefully. I'd read every word. Tom, it's David Morrison. David, long time. What's going on? I'm selling the house. Sarah's living there with her friend. What do I need to do legally? Is Sarah on the deed? No, just me. Is this friend paying rent? No. Then they're both guests in your home. You need to give proper notice. 30 days in Oregon for month-to-month occupancy. After that, if they don't leave, you can file for eviction. How fast can we move? I can draft the notice tonight. Have it delivered tomorrow. That starts the clock. 30 days from delivery, they're legally required to vacate. Do it. I hung up and sat on the hotel bed, staring at the city lights through the window. My phone buzzed. Sarah. 16 missed calls. I ignored them all. Checked my email instead. Tom had already sent the notice. Notice to vacate premises to Sarah Morrison and Rachel Brennan. This letter serves as official 30-day notice that the property located at 847 Maple Street, Portland, or 97212, will be sold. All occupants must vacate the premises by July 15, 2024, at 11:59 p.m. Failure to vacate will result in legal action, including eviction proceedings and trespassing charges. David Morrison, owner. I approved it. Tom sent it via courier for morning delivery. Signature required. Then I blocked Sarah's number. Blocked Rachel's too. Changed my passwords. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, bank accounts, everything. Cut off the credit card I'd given Sarah for household expenses. Started the divorce paperwork and went to sleep for the first time in 6 months without the sound of Sarah and Rachel laughing in the next room. The courier delivered the notice at 8:47 a.m. I got the confirmation email while eating breakfast at the hotel restaurant. My phone, the burner phone I'd bought specifically for this, started ringing 12 minutes later. Sarah's sister. I didn't answer. Then Sarah's mom. Ignored. Then a number I didn't recognize. I answered. David, it's Rachel. What the fuck is going on? I'm selling the house. You can't do that. We live here. You're a guest. Guests don't have property rights. Read the notice. Sarah's your wife? Sarah told me to leave. I'm just finishing what she started. I hung up. Blocked that number too. The listing Jennifer moved fast. Professional photographer came Monday morning while Sarah and Rachel were both, miraculously, out of the house. I still had my key. Let him in. He shot for 3 hours. The house looked incredible. The renovated kitchen with its quartz countertops and subway tile backsplash, the original hardwood floors we'd refinished, the clawfoot tub in the master bathroom, the built-in bookshelves in the living room, listed Tuesday morning at $649,000, 27 showings scheduled for the first weekend. I got an email from Sarah that afternoon. You can't just kick me out. This is my home. I replied from my burner email. Check the deed. It's my home. You have 30 days. She wrote back. You're insane. I'm your wife. We can work this out. Please call me. I wrote back. You told me to leave. You chose Rachel over me. Now deal with the consequences. Her response. I was angry. I didn't mean it. Please don't do this. Mine. You meant it. And I'm doing this. 30 days. 3 days later, the for sale sign went up in the front yard. Big red and white sign. Jennifer's smiling face on it. Open house. Saturday and Sunday, 1-4 p.m. Sarah called Jennifer. Jennifer called me. Your wife is threatening to sabotage the showings. She says she's going to tell everyone who comes through that you're illegally evicting her. Tell her that's defamation, and I'll sue. Also tell her to read the deed. Her name isn't on it. She says you promised to add her to the deed after you got married. I never promised that. It's in writing in the prenup. The house remains separate property. Okay, I'll let her know. The open house went forward. 43 people showed up Saturday, 51 on Sunday. Sarah and Rachel left during the showings. Jennifer had made it clear they had to, or she'd call the police for interference with a real estate transaction. We had 7 offers by Monday morning. The highest was $668,000, $28,000 over asking, all cash. Close in 3 weeks. I Accepted. The eviction. July 15th arrived faster than I expected. I'd moved out of the hotel and into a furnished apartment in the Pearl District. 1 bedroom, nice building, month-to-month lease, temporary, until I figured out what came next. The divorce papers had been served. Sarah had hired a lawyer, some guy named Marcus Brennan, who thought he could argue that the house was marital property despite the prenup. Tom laughed when he saw the filing. This won't go anywhere. The prenup is airtight. Oregon is an equitable distribution state, but separate property stays separate. She has no claim. What about her time living there? Doesn't she have tenant rights? She was your spouse living in your home. No formal rental agreement, no rent payments, no tenant rights. She's exactly what the eviction notice says. An occupant who must vacate. July 15th, 8 a.m. I showed up at the house with Deputy Michael Rodriguez from the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office and a locksmith named Pete Chen who Tom had recommended. I knocked on the door. Sarah answered. She was wearing her bathrobe, the blue one I'd bought her last Christmas before everything fell apart. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. Rachel stood behind her, arms crossed, glaring at me like I was the Antichrist. "You can't do this," Sarah said. Her voice was small, defeated. Deputy Rodriguez handed her the eviction notice. "Ma'am, you were given 30 days' notice. The time is up. You need to vacate the premises immediately. This is my house." "It's not," I said. "It never was." I pulled out my phone, showed her the deed I'd downloaded from the county assessor's website. Owner, David Morrison. Purchase date, March 12, 2019. Single name on the title. "But we're married," Sarah said. "We renovated together. We renovated my house. With my money. Read the prenup you signed. The house was always separate property." Rachel pushed forward, her face twisted with rage. "You're really going to make us homeless? You're that petty? You had 6 months to find a place," I said calmly. "That's on you." "Sarah, do something!" Rachel shrieked. "Call your lawyer. Call the police. This can't be legal." Deputy Rodriguez cleared his throat. "Ma'am, this is completely legal. Mr. Morrison is the sole owner of this property. You have no lease agreement. You were given proper notice. If you don't vacate voluntarily right now, I'll be forced to remove you." Sarah looked at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time in 6 months. "Please," she said quietly. "Can we talk about this? Can we work something out?" "You told me to leave," I said. "You chose Rachel over me. You laughed when she said good riddance. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." "I was angry. I didn't mean you meant it, and I'm finishing what you started." Deputy Rodriguez looked at his watch. "Ladies, I need you to begin gathering your belongings. You have 2 hours to collect your personal items. After that, anything remaining becomes the property owner's to dispose of." They packed in chaos. Sarah crying the whole time, throwing clothes into garbage bags, Rachel screaming, calling me every name in the book. "You're pathetic," she yelled from the guest room. "What kind of man kicks out his own wife?" "The kind whose wife told him to leave," I called back. I stood in the driveway and watched. My chest felt tight, not from sadness, from something else. Control, freedom, the power of consequences. Pete the locksmith was ready with new locks, waiting for them to clear out so he could change every lock in the house. The new owners were taking possession tomorrow. Their moving truck was scheduled for 9 a.m. At 10:47 a.m., Sarah and Rachel finally finished packing. Rachel's car, a beat-up Honda Civic with a dent in the rear bumper, was stuffed to the ceiling with garbage bags and boxes. Sarah had called an Uber for her stuff. It took 2 trips. When they were finally done, Sarah stopped at the end of the driveway, rolled down her car window. "I hope you're happy," she said. I looked at my wife, the woman who'd told me to leave, who'd chosen her freeloading best friend over me, who'd laughed when Rachel said good riddance, who'd spent 6 months disrespecting me in my own home, the home she thought was hers, the home she'd just lost. "I'm not happy," I replied. Pete started changing the locks behind me, the metallic sound of the old deadbolt coming out, the new one going in. "But I'm free." Sarah's face crumpled. She drove away. Rachel's car followed. I stood there for a long moment. Then I went inside my house one last time, walked through the empty rooms, the kitchen where Sarah and I used to cook together, the living room where we'd watched movies, the bedroom where we'd slept, all empty now, all mine, all about to belong to someone else. And I felt nothing but relief. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized in October. Sarah's lawyer tried to argue for spousal support. Tom shut it down. "Your client was employed full-time during the marriage. She has a master's degree and earning capacity. She voluntarily chose to end the relationship by telling my client to leave. No grounds for support." The judge agreed. Sarah got nothing. Split of marital assets. We'd had a joint checking account with $14,000 in it. She got half, $7,000. That was it. Everything else, my retirement accounts, my investments, my car, was separate property under the prenup. The house sold and closed without complications. I netted $627,000 after agent fees and closing costs. Used it to buy a condo in the Pearl District, 2 bedrooms, 20th floor, view of the river, paid cash, invested the rest, started dating again in November, met someone nice, a teacher named Amanda, kind, independent, had her own apartment, her own life. Nothing like Sarah. I ran into Rachel once, at a coffee shop in December. She was working there, wearing a green apron, taking orders. She saw me. Her face went red. "What do you want?" she asked when I got to the counter. "Coffee, medium dark roast." She made it in silence. balance, slammed it on the counter. That'll be $3.50. I paid. How's Sarah? I asked. Fuck you. I'll take that as not great. You destroyed her life. She destroyed her own life. I just stopped enabling it. You're a monster. I'm the guy who owned a house. She was the one who forgot that. I took my coffee and left. Never saw Rachel again. 1 year later, Sarah sent me an email. Subject: I'm sorry. I almost deleted it without reading. Didn't. David, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve your attention, but I need to say this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for choosing Rachel over you. I'm sorry for telling you to leave. I'm sorry for taking you for granted. I'm sorry for all of it. Rachel and I aren't friends anymore. Turns out when you're both broke and living in a shitty apartment together, the friendship doesn't hold up. She blamed me for everything. For losing the house. For losing you. For losing the life we had. She moved back to California 6 months ago. I haven't heard from her since. I'm working 2 jobs now, trying to pay off debt, trying to rebuild. It's hard. Really hard. I had to move back in with my parents for a while. I'm in my own place now, but it's small. Nothing like the house. I think about that house every day, about what I lost, about what I threw away. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. I understand what I had, what I destroyed. I hope you're happy. I really do. Sarah, I read it twice. Then I deleted it. Didn't respond. There was nothing to say. She was right. She'd destroyed what we had. She'd chosen wrong, and now she was living with the consequences, just like I'd told her she would. 2 years later, I married Amanda in a small ceremony in Cannon Beach. 20 people. Her family. My family. No drama. No freeloading friends. Just 2 people who loved each other and understood what commitment meant. We bought a house together. Both names on the deed. Joint ownership. Equal partnership. The way it should be. I thought about Sarah sometimes. About the house. About that day in June when she'd told me to leave. About the look on her face when Deputy Rodriguez handed her the eviction notice. About Rachel screaming that I was a monster. And I felt nothing. No regret. No guilt. No second thoughts. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing that I'd stood up for myself. That I'd enforced boundaries. That I'd refused to be disrespected in my own home. The home Sarah thought was hers. The home she'd lost because she forgot one simple truth. When you tell someone to walk out the door, you better make sure your name is on the deed.